For today's cup of coffee, we have a story that we have promised for quite a while.
Yeah, windy boys.
Wendigo.
It's actually not safe to say wendigos because it can summon them or whatever.
Hopefully
Can
not.
attract them to you.
Well, how are you supposed to talk about them if you can't speak it?
Say windy boy. Make names for them, not use their actual name.
Okay.
Windy.
You wanna start with what you know, and then I'll add to.
Oh God, if I can remember it. So, the Wendigo is basically one of the most greedy creatures out there. That is the basis of it. One of the legends. That it was just someone that was so overcome with greed. Greedy as far as with food, anything in general.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing because I really can't. I wish I printed off my sources. I wish I did. And they sort of turned into that creature who's just most carnivorous, greedy, evil little thing out there. And the other legend was it was a person that resorted to cannibalism. And there are some that say that you can also turn into a Wendigo if you are around them for too long. Which I don't know how that's possible, but apparently that's one of the legends around it.
Why would somebody want to hang out with Wendigo?
If you're trying to hide from it, I guess is what they're saying. Because that's what I would think. Because nobody would voluntarily be around a Wendigo.
Okay. You want me to fill in now, or are you still gonna?
That's as far as I can remember. It's just one of the most greedy, cannibalistic creatures out there. It has turned into something that is no longer human.
Right.
Because all the human traits went out of it due to its insatiable greed.
Right.
For whatever reason.
Because I am nerd.
Mm-hmm.
I found a website called Legends of America, and this is called the Wendigo, Flesheater of the Forest. And of course the link will be in the description box. And this was written by Kathy Weiser and updated on February the 22nd. And according to Basil Johnston, who is the Ojibwe teacher and scholar from Ontario, Canada, he states, the Wendigo was gaunt to the point of emaciation. Its desiccated skin pulled tautly over its bones.
Yep.
With its bones pushing out against its skin, its complexion the ash gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into their sockets.
Yeah, they're very sunken in.
The Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody. Its body was unclean and suffering from separations of the flesh, giving off a strange and eerie odor of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. So that was a pretty, that's pretty descriptive there.
Yep.
And this creature apparently inhabits, or supposedly inhabits, the north woods of Minnesota, the forests of the Great Lake region, and central regions of Canada. So, Crazy Funny Cats, you may be the man to ask about the Wendigo.
There's also other theories as far as them being in the Appalachian Mountains and such like that.
This didn't say anything about the Appalachian Mountains. Anyhow, it says that the creature may appear as a monster with some characteristics of a human, or as a spirit who has possessed a human being and made them become monstrous.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that very interesting. Historically, it's associated with cannibalism, murder, insatiable greed, and the cultural taboos against such behaviors.
So, see what I told you it goes into.
Oh, sure it does. I'm just filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
And Wendigo roughly translates the evil spirit that devours mankind.
Yep.
So there could be several different things that would fall into that category.
And the name was given to it by the Native Americans and such.
Right, and it says the creature has long been known among the Algonquin Ojibwe, the Eastern Cree, the Saltru, West Main Swampy Cree, Nescapi, and Innu peoples who have described them as giants, many times larger than human beings. Although descriptions can vary somewhat, common to all these cultures is the view that the Wendigo is malevolent, cannibalistic, and it's a supernatural being that is strongly associated with winter, the north, coldness, famine, and starvation. So that's why we stay in the house during the winter.
Yep. Don't go out during winter.
And an Algonquin legend describes the creature as, quote, a giant with a heart of ice. Sometimes it is thought to be entirely made of ice. Its body is skeletal and deformed, with missing lips and toes, end quote.
They're very emaciated.
What happened to their toes? They diabetic?
I never heard. Maybe they ate them.
I don't know. And the Ojibwe describe it as, quote, it was a large creature as tall as a tree, with a lipless mouth and jagged teeth. Its breath was a strange hiss, its footprints full of blood, and it ate any man, woman, or child who ventured into its territory, and those were the lucky ones. Sometimes the Wendigo chose to possess a person instead. And then the luckless individual became a Wendigo himself, hunting down those he had once loved and feasting upon their flesh.
They can also mimic sounds and such.
Well, it's interesting because within that, there's a lot of, if you go back to original legends of some of these creatures, if it's vampires, if it's werewolves, whatever, that the ones that they attack first are family members.
Because they're closest and they're the ones that will want to help the most if they can.
That includes meth heads. Yeah, that's a form of possession. It says that the Wendigo is created whenever a human resorts to cannibalism to survive. And often when Indians and settlers found themselves stranded in bitter snows and the ice of the North Woods, they would sometimes resort to cannibalism in order to survive. Other legends talk about, like youngest kid had mentioned, humans who displayed extreme greed, gluttony, and excess might be possessed by the Wendigo. And so that this part of the myth, if it is a myth, encouraged cooperation and moderation. Because if you got one that's that they eat a whole lot, that leaves less for the others, especially in times when food is very sparse.
Exactly.
Native American versions of the creature spoke of a gigantic spirit over 15 feet tall that had once been human but had been transformed into a creature by the use of magic. Descriptions can vary slightly, but the Wendigo is generally said to have glowing eyes, long yellowed fangs, terrible claws, and overly long tongues. Sometimes they're described as having sallow, yellowish skin, and other times depicted to be covered with matted hair. The creature is said to have a number of skills and powers, including stealth. It's a near-perfect hunter who knows every inch of its territory and uses that knowledge. It can control the weather through the use of dark magic. We've got Wendigos everywhere. They also are portrayed as simultaneously gluttonous and emaciated from starvation. That sounds like a tapeworm.
That's why they're pissed off, because they're
really
wormy.
They're wormy. Wendigos are...
What would happen if you threw worm pills at them?
Well, maybe that's a thought. Maybe they need to be wormed. Wendigos are said to be cursed to wander the land, eternally seeking to fulfill their voracious appetite for human flesh, and when there is nothing left to eat, it starves to death. Now, this was what I thought was the most interesting part. The legend lends its name to a disputed modern medical term, Wendigo psychosis, which is considered by some psychiatrists to be a syndrome that creates an intense craving for human flesh and a fear of becoming cannibal. And it says, ironically, this psychosis is said to occur within people living around the Great Lakes of Canada, and the United States.
Oh.
Wendigo psychosis usually develops in the winter in individuals who are isolated by heavy snow for long periods. The initial symptoms are poor appetite, nausea, and vomiting. Subsequently, the individual develops a delusion of being transformed into a Wendigo monster.
Crazy funny cats, you better not eat us.
Yeah, really. People who have Wendigo psychosis increasingly see others around them as being edible.
Ew.
I will eat your ass like corn on the cob. At the same time, they have an exaggerated fear of becoming cannibals. So that's a bit of a,
irony
juxtaposition there, and it's some cognitive dissonance. It says the most common response when a person showed signs of Wendigo psychosis was a curing attempt by traditional native healers. And in cases from the past, if these attempts failed, and if the possessed person began either to threaten those around them or to act violently or antisocially, they were executed. There have been reports regarding this psychosis dating back hundreds of years. And a 1661 Jesuit relations document stated, quote, "What caused us great concern was the intelligence that met us upon entering the lake, namely that the men deputed by our conductor, for the purpose of summoning the nations to the North Sea and assigning them a rendezvous where they were to await our coming. It's getting late. Where they were to await our coming, had met their death the previous winter in a very strange manner. Those poor men, according to the report given us, were seized with an ailment unknown to us, but not very unusual among the people we were seeking. They are afflicted with neither lunacy, hypochondria, nor frenzy.
I got an affliction.
But have a combination of all these species of disease, which affects their imaginations and causes them a more than canine hunger. This makes them so ravenous for human flesh that they pounce upon women, children, and even upon men like veritable werewolves and devour them voraciously without being able to appease or glut their appetite.
That's fucked up.
Ever seeking fresh prey.
That's fucked up.
Ever seeking fresh prey, and the more greedily, the more they eat. So, there again, with the voracious appetite.
Fucked up.
This ailment attacked our deputies, and as death is the sole remedy among these simple people for checking such acts of murder, they were slain in order to stay the course of their madness.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what are you supposed to do with somebody like that?
Right.
I mean,
you just put them in a padded cell.
Another documented case occurred in 1878 when a Plains Cree trapper from Alberta named Swift Runner suffered one of the worst cases known. Swift Runner was a trader with the Hudson's Bay Company who was married and the father of 6 children. In 1875, he served as a guide to the Northwest Mounted Police. During the winter of 1878-79, Swift Runner and his family were starving, along with numerous other Cree families. His eldest son was the first to die of starvation, and at some point, Swift Runner succumbed to Wendigo psychosis. Though emergency food supplies were available at Hudson's Bay Company Post, some 25 miles away, well, that's a considerable distance there.
Yeah, nobody is going to be able to do that on foot. Hardly.
Well, he did not attempt to travel there. Rather, he killed the remaining members of his family and consumed them. He eventually confessed and was executed by authorities at Fort Saskatchewan.
Okay.
What are you going? It's like, I cooked them up.
Yeah, I cooked them up, ate them. They were wonderful with a side of beans and greens.
Yeah, really. It says a Wendigo.
Nice Chianti.
The Chianti. A Wendigo allegedly made a number of appearances near a town called Roseau in northern Minnesota. It's R-O-S-E-S-U. Roseau, I guess.
Roseau.
In northern Minnesota from the late 1800s through the 1920s. Each time that was reported, An unexpected death followed, and finally it was seen no more. Another well-known case involving Wendigo psychosis was that of Jack Fiddler, an Oji-Cree chief and medicine man known for his powers at defeating Wendigos.
Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah, really. Fiddler claimed to have defeated 14 Wendigos during his lifetime. Some of the creatures were said to have been sent by enemy shamans, and others were members of his own band who had been taken with the insatiable, incurable desire to eat human flesh. In the latter case, Fiddler was usually asked by family members to kill a very sick loved one before they turned Wendigo. It's like the zombies. It's like the zombies. You know how that goes? Once they were bitten, that was it.
Yeah.
There was no saving them. Fiddler's own brother, Peter Flett, was killed after turning Wendigo when the food ran out at a trading expedition. Hudson's Bay Company traders, the Cree, and missionaries were well aware of the Wendigo legend, though they often explained it as mental illness or superstition. Yeah, that's always the go-to, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently.
Regardless, several incidents of people turning Wendigo and eating human flesh are documented in the records of the company. In 1907, Fiddler and his brother Joseph were arrested by the Canadian authorities for murder. Jack committed suicide, but Joseph was tried and sentenced to life in prison. He ultimately was granted a pardon, but died 3 days later in jail before receiving the news of his pardon. Somebody Epstein dude?
Yeah.
It says the frequency of Wendigo psychosis cases decreased sharply in the 20th century as the Native Americans came into greater and greater contact with Western ideologies. But it says that, however, Wendigo creature sightings are still reported, especially in northern Ontario, near the Cave of the Wendigo, and around the town of Kenora, where it is allegedly spotted by traders, trackers, and trappers, and has been for decades. There are many who still believe that the Wendigo roams the woods and the prairies of northern Minnesota and Canada. So,
But
it doesn't say anything about the Appalachian Mountains.
that was just that. That was
One
just
TikToker.
that article. Just that article.
That's a well-researched article. It is. I will also include the one from Wikipedia. I haven't read through that one fully, but
That's the one I was going to cite my sources from.
so anyhow,
Wikipedia.
Crazy Funny Cats, I think that you're the one that's going to have to really, really watch on that one, because
Don't eat people.
I don't know where the others...
You'll be fine.
On BitChute, I don't know where they're located, but the other one's on YouTube. I think that Cats is the only one that's Canadian at this point.
Canadian. Can we have some syrup?
But that, yeah, really. But that sounds like a very interesting creature. Mm-hmm. Not one that I would want to encounter. I think that I would take the Bigfoot over the Wendigo. Yeah.
I would rather take Bigfoot any day over a damn Wendigo. That's a no-brainer right there. That's a... Big feet! Come by here, big feet. Come by here.
But I think it's very interesting that this has more... The way that it was written, it actually has more credence to it than even the werewolf legends. And maybe it's... I don't know, maybe it was more documented because the Native Americans still have, as far as oral tradition, passing down the stories, which sometimes can be more accurate than things that are written.
Well, that's like, I'm pretty sure the werewolf is a more recent type of deal.
Oh, no.
And by recent, I mean like 18...
Oh, no. It went back further than that. Mm-hmm. Did you not watch the video that we did about werewolves?
Yes.
Where were you? Where were you?
I was right there with you.
But were you paying attention?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Go back and find the video about the werewolves, and it'll tell you at what point, even back into Grecian times and Roman times, that these things were said to be.
And Wendigos were there too.
Well, yeah, but it was on the different side of the wall.
Yeah.
So, but I can very much, the fact that this has a psychosis named after it.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, honestly. It really
Yeah.
is.
And to think that these people, and it was amongst their tradition, that's how you dealt with that situation.
Right.
That the person, if they could not be helped by the shaman, well, you couldn't let them go around cannibalizing everyone.
No, you couldn't. Of course you couldn't. Because they're eating people.
Yeah.
Soylent Green, it's people.
Yeah, Soylent Green is people. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And
I think the overall, like the entire mythology around Wendigos is just fascinating.
well, I think that very much it could be a demonic spirit, an unclean spirit.
It's obviously a demonic spirit.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a good spirit at all. It's
Well,
not a good entity at all.
And you've got people that are, as far as Native Americans and stuff, that they still very much understand how the spiritual realm interacts with the physical realm.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if they do anymore. That much anymore, but back then, hell yeah.
A lot of them do. They do understand that. And Western society, to its shame, has forgotten a lot of these things. This is part of the reason we're in the situation that we are.
That's true.
Because not everything has a physical cause for it. Not everything is mental illness.
Yeah.
But even within the field of psychology,
they
are beginning to recognize that there are things that go on with people that is not a matter of mental health, but it is a spiritual condition.
Absolutely. Bless.
So that's a step forward that they're even considering that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. So those of y'all in Canada, up there in the Northwest and stuff, stockpile before winter comes. Everybody's stockpiling right now, and winter has not come. They're stockpiling for other reasons.
Did they ever find a toilet paper?
I don't know. But yeah, it's like...
it was not there. When I was looking for it at Sam's, it was not there. I didn't even look at Walmart.
It's like, my sources have said prepare for the next 90 days.
Yeah.
And so...
And then it will be fine afterwards.
I don't know why the toilet paper thing.
You have to take 1,000 shits to use all that toilet paper.
That's what Razor Fist had said yesterday on his rant. And it's like, whatever this is not even a gastrointestinal issue.
No, but people don't want to go out, so they're like, oh, toilet paper. Why not stock on food rather than toilet paper? Seriously.
Well, I guess they figure do one that's going to cause the other.
You can use certain leaves as toilet paper if need be. Don't use poison ivy.
Yeah, that would be a bad situation.
Use oak leaves.
Well, that would be a bad situation.
To use oak leaves?
No, the poison ivy.
Oh, yeah, your ass be itching for days.
That would be terrible.
That ain't because you didn't wipe good. That's because you poisoned yourself.
But seriously, as far as non-perishable things that can last quite a while.
Lots of ramen.
That, for those who can eat that. Dried meats.
Beef jerky,
different things like that.
Turkey jerky.
Garlic granules, which is different than garlic powder.
Deer jerky.
Yeah.
Lots of jerkies.
Items in case you have to hunt and glean your own foods.
Luckily, some of us do know how to hunt. I am one of those people that will not hunt. I don't know how to hunt. I don't want to know how to hunt.
I do know. And I shot a deer once.
And it's like, oh, God!
Well, what it was, I was standing here on the porch. I was standing here on the porch, and the man who owned the property across from us at that time, He had actually, he's like, here's a shotgun. If you see it in the garden, shoot it. There was nothing coming up and down the road, so I shot it. I hit it in the flank. I didn't hit it, in the abdomen or anything, but I would say that it probably
bled out.
Yeah, I'm sure it bled out.
That's
and
okay,
then I panicked because I thought, oh God, I shot across the public road.
Even though it's a back road, technically.
It is a back road, but it's still considered a public road. But yeah, our people, that's when you draw upon the knowledge of your ancestors on knowing how to do a lot of these things. Have a good survival guide with you for real. Even those of you
Plant your own garden.
Who are in urban areas, it's never a bad thing to have like a handbook for medical emergencies and different things like that.
Have a handbook for foraging too.
Yeah. So anyhow, so this was a lead in into the cannibalism, which I will, barring unforeseen, we've had to run and get supplies for days.
And I've been wanting her to talk about the cannibalism. I've been wanting to hear about the cannibalism.
Well, Kuru is one of those...
Don't eat the brains.
Yeah, don't eat the brains. But I want to have the resources because I want people to go, oh, okay, this is where she got this from. These are the other resources that I can go to, do my own research. Always do your own research.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to think that I'm just, flying monkeys out my ass. That's not for them to go, she didn't just make this up out of her own imagination.
Flying monkeys out of your ass.
So.
That's funny. I like that. I do that.
If you have,
I like that.
If you've had experiences with the supernatural or paranormal, encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, wendigos, Bigfoot,
zoology,
whatever. If you've got
study cryptid zoology,
why yes I do. If you know of family legends, local legends and myths, anything like that, send us an email at cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. And yeah, keep an eye on the woods, y'all, that's up there in the northwest.
Look to the trees, look to the skies.
Yeah, we have...
Beware of what flies.
Or what stalks about.
That doesn't rhyme. That doesn't rhyme at all.
No, it doesn't. If you see glowing red eyes in the forest,
look to the
go back in the house.
Then I'm going to have to redo it. Look to the trees, look to the skies. See glowing eyes, it's your demise.
Yeah. Y'all have a beautiful, blessed day. Bye.
Oh.